Welcome! Want to speak English with confidence? You're in the right place. Every story on this channel helps you improve your listening, vocabulary, pronunciation, and speaking naturally and enjoyably. Listen every day, learn a little every day, and you'll be surprised by how fast your English improves. Now let's begin today's story. 10 years ago, I watched the person I loved disappear from my life. I thought I would never see him again. But one morning, he came back, and he was carrying a secret that changed everything I believed. Sometimes people leave our lives without saying goodbye. Sometimes they return when we least expect them. But the hardest question is not, why did they leave? The hardest question is, can we forgive them when they come back? My name is Emily, and this is the story of the person who disappeared for 10 years, and the secret that brought him back. 10 years ago, I was 20 years old. I lived in a small town near a beautiful lake. It was a quiet place. Everyone knew each other. The streets were small, the houses were old, and people never forgot a familiar face. Since I was a child, I loved writing. I wrote stories in my notebooks and dreamed of becoming an author one day. But my life changed when I met Daniel. I first saw him on a rainy afternoon. I was sitting in a small cafe, reading a book. The cafe was almost empty. Then the door opened. A young man walked inside. His clothes were wet from the rain. He looked around and asked, "Excuse me, is this seat free?" I looked at the chair beside me. "Yes, it is." He sat down and smiled. "Thank you." A few minutes later, he noticed the book in my hands. "You like stories?" I smiled. "Yes, I loved them." He looked at the book. "Me too." That simple conversation was the beginning of everything. After that day, Daniel and I met many times. We talked about our dreams. He wanted to become a photographer. He loved capturing special moments with his camera. He always said, "Every person has a story. A picture can keep that story alive." I liked the way he saw the world. He noticed small things that other people ignored. A child's smile, an old couple walking together, the first flower of spring. Daniel made ordinary moments feel special. Slowly, we became close. Then, one evening near the lake, he told me something. "Emily, I had never met someone like you before." I looked at him and laughed. "Is that a good thing or a bad thing?" He smiled. "A very good thing." That night, we talked for hours. We talked about our future. We talked about traveling. We talked about building a happy life together. I believed those moments would last forever. But I was wrong. Because one morning, Daniel disappeared. No message, no phone call, no goodbye, nothing. I waited for him that day, then the next day, then the next week, but he never came. I asked everyone, his friends, his neighbors, people who knew him. Nobody had an answer. It was like he had vanished from the world. At first, I was angry. Then I was hurt. Then, slowly, I learned how to live without him. 10 years passed. I became a writer. I moved to the city. I built a new life. But there was always one question in my heart. Why did Daniel leave? I thought I would never know the answer. Until one morning, I opened my front door, and I saw someone standing outside. Someone I never expected to see again. It was Daniel. After 10 years, he came back, but he was not the same person, and the reason he disappeared was a secret I was not ready to hear. For a few seconds, I could not move. I just stood there and looked at him. The person in front of me was the same person I remembered, but also different. His hair was darker before. His face was younger before. But his eyes were exactly the same eyes that looked at me near the lake 10 years ago. "Emily," he said quietly. Hearing my name from his voice felt strange. It felt like hearing a song from my childhood, a song I had not heard for many years. I finally found my voice. "Daniel." There were so many things I wanted to say. Where were you? Why did you leave? Why did you not call me? Why did you let me believe you were gone forever? But I could not say anything. My heart was full of anger and confusion. He looked down. "I know, you probably hate me." I looked at him. I don't know what I feel. That was the truth. Because after 10 years, feelings do not simply disappear. They change. They become a mixture of memories, pain, and unanswered questions. Daniel took a deep breath. Can I come inside? I hesitated. A part of me wanted to close the door. A part of me wanted answers. Finally, I moved aside. He entered my house. He looked around. On the wall, he saw some of my books. You became a writer. I nodded. Yes. He smiled a little. I always knew you would. I looked at him. You knew? He became quiet. That sentence surprised me. What does that mean? He looked away. I've followed your life from far away. My heart started beating faster. What? He sat down slowly. I know this sounds strange. Daniel, nothing about this is normal. He looked at his hands. I wanted to contact you many times. Then why didn't you? He stayed silent. For a moment, I thought he would not answer. Then he said, because I was afraid. I laughed sadly. Afraid? Daniel, you disappeared for 10 years. I waited for you. I thought something terrible happened. I thought maybe you forgot me. His eyes became sad. I never forgot you, Emily. Those words hurt more than I expected, because a part of me wanted to believe them, but another part of me remembered all the lonely days, all the questions, all the tears. Then tell me the truth, I said. Why did you leave? Daniel looked at the floor. 10 years ago, my father became very sick. I became quiet. I didn't know. He didn't want anyone to know. He was a proud man, Daniel continued. He had a problem with his business. He lost everything. I found out that some dangerous people were looking for him because of his debts. I listened carefully. That night, I received a message that said I needed to leave the town immediately. I looked at him. Why didn't you tell me? He closed his eyes. Because they told me that if I stayed, the people close to me could be in danger. My heart became heavy. So you left to protect me? He nodded slowly. I was 22 years old. I was scared. I didn't know what else to do. I sat quietly. For 10 years, I had believed he left because he didn't love me. But the truth was different. Still, I had another question. Why did you come back now? Daniel looked at me. Because the secret that forced me to leave has finally been discovered. I looked at him. What secret? He reached into his bag. He took out an old envelope with my name on it. My hands became cold. Emily, this letter was written 10 years ago, but I was never allowed to give it to you. I looked at the envelope. My name was written in Daniel's handwriting, the handwriting I knew so well, and I knew the words inside this letter could change everything. I looked at the old envelope in Daniel's hand. My name was written on it, Emily. Just seeing my name on that paper brought back thousands of memories. The days near the lake, the conversations in the cafe, the dreams we shared, and the morning he disappeared. I slowly reached for the letter, but before I opened it, I looked at Daniel. Why did you keep this for 10 years? He looked at me with sadness. Because I wanted you to read it. Then why didn't you send it? He took a deep breath. Because I was not free to make my own choices. I became confused. What do you mean? Daniel looked out of the window. After I left the town, I went to another city. I changed my phone number. I changed my address. I tried to disappear completely. Not because I wanted to forget you, but because I wanted you to be safe. I sat quietly. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to blame him, but I could see the pain in his eyes. Daniel, you should have trusted me. He looked at me. I know. That is the biggest mistake of my life. The room became silent. Then I opened the letter. The paper was old. The ink was not as dark as before, but the first words immediately broke my heart. Dear Emily, if you're reading this, it means I could finally return. I stopped for a moment. Then I continued reading. I don't know when you will see this letter. Maybe after a few days. Maybe after many years. But I need you to know one thing. I never left because I stopped loving you. My eyes became full of tears. I looked away. Daniel remained silent. He let me read. The letter continued. That night, I wanted to come to you. I wanted to explain everything, but I was afraid. I was afraid that my problems would become your problems. I was afraid that I would destroy your future. I touched the paper gently. Those words were written by the person I loved, the person I thought abandoned me, but now I was seeing a different story. I continued reading. Emily, you always believed in my dreams. You always told me that I could become a great photographer. So I made a promise to myself. I would return only when I could stand in front of you without bringing danger into your life. I stopped reading. Daniel. He looked at me. Did you really think you could protect me by leaving? His eyes filled with sadness. No. I know now that I was wrong. I closed the letter. For 10 years, I thought you didn't care. I thought our memories meant nothing to you. Daniel shook his head. They meant everything, every day, every single day. I looked at him. Then why now? He answered softly. Because the person who threatened my family was finally found. And because I learned something. What? Running away can protect someone for a short time, but honesty is the only way to protect a relationship. His words touched my heart. But forgiveness was not easy. 10 years of pain could not disappear in one day. I stood up and walked toward the window. Outside, the city was busy. People were walking. Cars were moving. Life was continuing. But inside my house, my past had returned. Daniel. Yes? I need time. He nodded. I understand. I don't expect you to forgive me today. I looked at him. Where are you staying? At a small hotel. I was surprised. You came back after 10 years and you don't even have a home here? He smiled sadly. I left this town with nothing, and I came back with only one hope. What hope? He looked at me. That maybe one day you could forgive me. That night, after he left, I could not sleep. I read the letter again and again. For 10 years, I had tried to forget Daniel, but now I had to answer a difficult question. Could I open my heart to someone who once broke it? The next morning, I woke up early. I looked at the empty chair near my window. For many years, I sat there alone and wrote stories. Stories about people who lost something. Stories about people who found hope again. But I never thought one day my own story would become the most difficult one to understand. I made some coffee and looked at Daniel's letter on the table. I wanted to throw it away. I wanted to forget everything, but my heart did not allow me, because behind the pain, there were still beautiful memories. Memories of the boy who made me laugh, the boy who believed in my dreams, the boy who always carried a camera and said, every moment is special. We just need to notice it. That afternoon, I decided to visit the old lake, the same place where Daniel and I used to talk. The lake had changed a little. There were more trees. The old wooden bench was repaired, but the feeling was still the same. I sat down and looked at the water. Then I heard a voice behind me. I knew I would find you here. I turned around. It was Daniel. For a moment, I wanted to leave, but I stayed. How did you know? He smiled. Because this was your favorite place. I looked at the lake. It was our favorite place. He became quiet. Then he sat a little far from me. He respected my space. That small action surprised me. What happened after you left? I asked. Daniel looked at the water. My life became very different. At first, I worked in small jobs. I had no friends. I had no family nearby. I only had one thing. What? My promise. I looked at him. The promise that I would return when everything was safe. He continued. After many years, I started working as a photographer again. I traveled to different places. I took thousands of pictures. But every time I saw something beautiful, I wished you were there. I looked down. Did you ever try to find me? He nodded. Many times. Then why didn't you come? Because I was afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid that you had moved on? Those words surprised me. You thought I forgot you? He smiled sadly. Emily, 10 years is a long time. People change. Life changes. I looked at him. Yes, life changes. But some memories stay. For the first time, we both smiled. A small smile, but it was a beginning. Then Daniel said something unexpected. I have something else to tell you. What? When I left, I did not only lose you. I lost my dream too. I looked confused. But you became a photographer. Yes. But I never opened my own studio. Why? He looked at his camera because the person I wanted to share that dream with was gone. I felt a pain in my heart. Daniel. He quickly smiled. Don't feel sorry for me. I learned a lot during those years. About life, about people, and about myself. The wind moved through the trees. The lake was quiet. Then he asked, Emily, are you happy now? I thought about my life, my writing, my friends, my home. Yes. Then I added, but there was always a question I couldn't answer. What question? Why did you leave? He nodded. I understand. Then he looked at me. But now I have another question. What? Can we start again? My heart started beating faster. After 10 years, the person who disappeared was standing in front of me, asking for another chance. But starting again was not simple, because love can forgive, but the heart still remembers. I did not answer Daniel's question. Can we start again? Those words stayed in my mind all night. A part of me wanted to say yes. A part of me was still afraid. Because when someone leaves your life suddenly, they do not only leave an empty place, they leave questions. They leave fears. They leave memories that are difficult to forget. The next few days were confusing. Daniel did not force me to make a decision. He did not call me many times. He did not ask me to forgive him. He simply gave me time. And somehow, that made me think about him even more. One morning, I was walking through the town when I saw him. He was standing in front of an old building. I walked closer. What are you doing here? He turned around and smiled. I rented this place. I looked at the empty building. What for? He opened the door. Inside, there were many boxes, a camera, some paintings, and many photographs. I want to open a small photography studio. I smiled. After all these years? He nodded. Sometimes, dreams wait for us. I remembered something he once told me. Every person has a story. I looked at his photographs. There were pictures of people from different places. A young boy playing in the street, an old woman smiling, a family sitting together. They were beautiful. You never stopped doing what you loved. He smiled. No, because someone once told me not to give up on my dreams. I looked at him. I said that. He laughed many times. For the first time after his return, I felt comfortable around him. Not completely, but a little. Days passed. Daniel and I started talking again, not like before. Slowly, carefully. We learned about the people we had become. I told him about my writing. He told me about his travels. I learned that he had helped many people through his photography. He learned that I had written 3 books. One evening he came to my house. He gave me a small package. What is this? Open it. Inside was an old photograph. I looked at it carefully. It was a picture of us near the lake 10 years ago. I smiled. I thought you lost this. He shook his head. Never. Why did you keep it? He looked at the picture. Because it reminded me that I had something worth coming back for. I became quiet. Then I asked, Daniel, were you ever angry with me? He looked surprised. Why would I be angry? Because I didn't wait for you forever. He smiled gently. Emily, I never wanted you to stop living your life. I wanted you to be happy. Those words touched my heart because I realized something. Maybe Daniel's biggest mistake was leaving without saying goodbye. But his reason was not selfish. He was trying to protect me. That did not erase the pain, but it helped me understand him. A few weeks later, Daniel invited me to his first photography exhibition. The room was full of people. His dream was finally becoming real. I walked around and looked at his photographs. Then I saw one picture that stopped me. It was a picture of a young woman sitting beside a lake. The woman was looking at the sunset. I knew that picture. It was me. I turned to Daniel. You kept this for 10 years? He nodded. Yes. Why? Because that was the last happy day before everything changed. I looked at the picture again. Then I understood something. For 10 years, Daniel was carrying our memories. And maybe I was too. But that night, something happened. Something that would test whether we could truly start again. Because someone from Daniel's past appeared. Someone who knew the real reason he disappeared. And someone who was ready to reveal a secret Daniel had never told me. The night of Daniel's photography exhibition was supposed to be a happy night. Everyone was smiling. People were looking at his photographs. They were talking about his talent. They were congratulating him. I was standing near one of his pictures when I heard a woman's voice behind me. Emily? I turned around. A woman was standing there. She looked around my age. I had never seen her before. Yes? She looked at me carefully. My name is Clara. Do I know you? She took a deep breath. No, but I know Daniel. My heart became a little nervous. How? She looked toward Daniel. He never told you about me, did he? I became quiet. What are you talking about? Clara looked sad. 10 years ago, when Daniel disappeared, I was with him. Those words shocked me. What? She continued. Please don't misunderstand. He was not with me in the way you think. I was his father's friend's daughter. I listened carefully. After Daniel left the town, he stayed with my family for a short time. Why? Because his father was sick, and he needed help. I looked at her. Then why did he never tell me? Clara looked down. Because he was ashamed. Of what? She looked at me. Of the truth. My heart started beating faster. What truth? Clara was silent for a moment. Then she said, Daniel did not leave only because of his father's problems. He left because he made a deal. A deal? She nodded. He agreed to work for someone to pay his father's debts. I was surprised. What kind of work? He used his photography skills to help a company. At first, everything was normal. But later, he discovered that the company was hiding illegal activities. I became serious. What happened then? He wanted to leave, but they threatened him. I looked toward Daniel. My heart felt heavy. Why didn't he tell me this? Clara answered softly. Because he was afraid. Afraid they would find you. I looked at Daniel from across the room. He was talking to some guests. He looked happy. But I suddenly realized, behind that smile, there was a lot of pain. Clara continued. Daniel spent years trying to fix the damage. He collected information. He helped the police. And finally, the people who threatened him were caught. I looked at her. Then why did he wait so long to return? She smiled sadly. Because he wanted to return as a better person, not as someone who brought problems into your life. I did not know what to say. For 10 years, I thought Daniel forgot me. I thought he chose to leave. But maybe he was fighting a battle alone. Later that night, I found Daniel outside the exhibition hall. He was looking at the stars. Daniel. He turned around. Emily? I looked at him. Why didn't you tell me everything? His face changed. He knew what I meant. Who told you? That doesn't matter. I stepped closer. What? He looked down. Because I was tired of seeing people I love get hurt because of my problems. I became emotional. But you hurt me too. His eyes filled with sadness. I know. That is something I will regret forever. The silence between us was heavy. Then I said, I spent 10 years thinking you left because you didn't love me. He looked at me. I spent 10 years hoping you would understand that I left because I loved you. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he said, I don't expect you to forget the past, but I hope you can see the whole story now. I looked at him, and for the first time, I didn't see the person who left me. I saw the person who was trying to protect me, but there was still one final question in my heart. Could we build a future after losing 10 years? The days after the exhibition were different. Something had changed between Daniel and me. The pain was still there. The memories of those 10 years were still there. But now there was something else. Understanding. For the first time, I saw the full story. Daniel was not a person who simply walked away. He was a person who was afraid. Afraid of losing the people he loved. Afraid of bringing danger into my life. But I also learned something important. Love needs honesty. Even when the truth is difficult. Even when the truth hurts. One evening, Daniel and I walked near the lake. The same lake where we made dreams when we were young. The sunset was beautiful. The water was calm. "I miss this place," Daniel said. I smiled. "Me too." We sat on the old wooden bench. For a while, we said nothing. Sometimes, silence with the right person feels better than many words. Then Daniel said, "Emily, I need to apologize." I looked at him. "I already know why you left." He shook his head. "That is not enough. I hurt you. I made a choice for both of us without asking you." His voice became quiet. "I thought I was protecting you, but I forgot that you were strong enough to choose your own path." I looked at the lake. After all these years, those words were exactly what I needed to hear. I was angry for a long time. "I know. I thought you didn't trust me." He looked at me. I didn't trust myself. I was surprised. "What do you mean?" He smiled sadly. "I thought I was not good enough for you. You were building your future. You were becoming a writer, and I was fighting problems I didn't know how to solve." I looked at him. "Daniel, you should have let me stand beside you." He nodded. "I know that now." The wind moved gently. Then he asked, "Emily, do you still write stories?" I smiled. "Of course." "What are you writing now?" I looked at him. "A story about someone who disappeared for 10 years. He laughed softly. "Is it about me?" "Maybe." "Maybe?" I smiled. "You always told me that every person has a story." He laughed. "That sounds like something I would say." "It is." We both smiled. It was the first time we laughed together like we used to. A few months later, something wonderful happened. Daniel's photography studio became successful. People loved his pictures. And my new book became popular. The book was about forgiveness, second chances, and finding hope after loss. Many people ask me, "Is this story real?" I always smiled, and I answered, "Every story has a little truth inside." But the biggest surprise came 1 year later. Daniel invited me to his studio. There was a new photograph hanging on the wall. I looked at it. It was a picture of the lake, but this time there were 2 people in the picture. A man and a woman walking together. I looked at Daniel. "Who are they?" He smiled. "They are 2 people who lost 10 years and found a reason to continue." I felt tears in my eyes. Then Daniel took something from his pocket. A small box. My heart stopped for a moment. After everything we had been through, after all the years apart, I knew this moment would change our future forever. I looked at the small box in Daniel's hand. For a moment, I could not speak. My mind went back to the day he disappeared. The day I thought my story with him had ended, but life had a strange way of bringing people back together. Daniel looked nervous. I had never seen him like that before. The confident photographer, the person who traveled around the world, the person who faced difficult situations. But now he was standing in front of me with nervous eyes. "Emily," he said softly, "before you open this box, I want you to know something." I looked at him. "What?" "I don't want to erase the past. I don't want to pretend those 10 years never happened." He took a deep breath. "Those years changed us. They made us stronger. They taught us important lessons." I listened quietly. "But if you give me another chance, I want to spend the future showing you that I learned from my mistakes." My eyes filled with tears. He opened the box. Inside was not a diamond ring. It was something much more special. It was a small old key. I looked at it with surprise. "What is this?" Daniel smiled. "Do you remember the small house near the lake? The one where we used to talk about our dreams?" I nodded. Yes. I bought it. I looked at him. What? I turned it into a place where people can share their stories, a place for writers, artists, and dreamers. He smiled, because that was always our dream. I touched the key. It was not just a key. It was a symbol of everything we lost and found again. Daniel looked at me. Emily, I don't want to ask you to forget the past. I only want to ask, can we create a new future? I smiled through my tears. For 10 years, I waited for answers. I waited to know why he left. I waited to understand what happened. But now I understood something. Sometimes, people make mistakes because they are afraid. Sometimes, they leave because they don't know another way. And sometimes, love gives people a second chance. I looked at Daniel. Yes. His eyes became full of happiness. Yes? I smiled. Yes, we can create a new future. He smiled, and for the first time in 10 years, I felt peace. Many years later, I still tell people our story. Not because it was perfect. It was far from perfect. There was pain. There were years we could never get back. But there was also forgiveness. There was hope. And there was love. I learned that losing someone does not always mean the end. Sometimes, people need time to find themselves. Sometimes, life separates two people to help them grow. And sometimes, after many years, they find their way back. Today, when I look at Daniel, I don't see the person who disappeared. I see the person who came back, the person who taught me that love is not about having a perfect story. It is about choosing each other again and again, because the strongest love stories are not the ones without problems. They're the ones where people face problems and still choose to stay. Every story brings you one step closer to fluent English. If you want more inspiring stories like this, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next story. Keep learning, keep growing. Goodbye.